How many hearts have you broken with those great big beautiful eyes? Those great big beautiful eyes that tell such beautiful lies.
How many times have you kissed somebody like you kissed me then? I don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message from the Prepared Mind Network.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Hey folks, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, and here we are in Studio B. And it is Monday. It is July 3rd, 2023. That's right, just double check the date, and here we are, folks. We are almost about to be on the 4th of July, Independence Day. And we need to think about who the enemies are, foreign and domestic. We need to think about who the tyrants are, foreign and domestic. We need to understand who our countrymen are. And boy, is they're thinking foreign. Many of them, folks, are not Americans. They're anti-American. They're anti-freedom. So I want to bring up an obvious fact. I'm an old guy. I'm an old guy. So who is younger than me? Who is more willing and ready to fight? Are these young folks? These millennials and centennials? Well, I think they might think they're ready to fight. But folks, who we're dealing with, they're not quite right in the cabeza. They're a little bit off. They're a little bit, I think, I'm going to use the term dumb. So there's one particular person. He is a TikTok influencer. Now, I guess you could say that here on YouTube, I'm a YouTube influencer. Right? So is this a battle of the influencers? Yes, it is. It certainly is a battle between you and I and these idiots. So speaking of this idiot, his name is sisson. And he looks like he still has just a little bit of peach fuzz under his little criminals in his pants. Anyways, he is calling on the Department of Justice to investigate the Supreme Court of the United States over its recent decision that strengthens religious liberties. That's right, folks. This guy is not happy. Not happy at all, because the Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 decision that a graphic artist who doesn't want to design wedding sites for same-sex couples does not have to. So, right, unbelievable. This guy thinks that the Department of Justice has jurisdiction over the Supreme Court. But remember, folks, the Constitution doesn't matter. Rules don't matter. Our traditions, our culture, our political system, our three branches of government, which are each distinct, individual, and also immune from each other. But this is how these people think. Little influencer sisson, right, doesn't seem to understand separation of powers, but has lawlessness from that guy called Joe Biden, or lawlessness for the rules that it passes that are unconstitutional coming out of the legislature. Has that ever stopped Democrats? Now we are watching, folks, around the world as countries fall apart and fall into states of lawlessness. You're going to have your chance, folks, to deal with people like sisson, who looks to be a centennial, right? In his 20s, maybe. An idealistic moron is what he is. But here's the deal, folks. There are many like him. Male and female, black and white, Asian and other. There are many like him that are anti-American, and they hate this country. And he will use his influence, whatever the fuck it is, to get people to react, to act out, to negatively cause things to happen. Now, let me give you another example of a complete moron and idiot here. So let's get it on this Monday, right? Remember Jen Psaki? That's right. Jen circle back, circle jerk Psaki. She uses circular reasoning in her argument. Oh, by the way, she is now, Jen Psaki works for, I think, MSNBC, CNBC. Who the hell does she work for? Jen Psaki, circle back idiot, MSNBC host that no one really watches or pays attention to. No one really cares. But she uses logical fallacies. But what she's trying to do is scare Muslims into supporting transgender ideology. Yeah, she's trying to scare them into supporting the LGBTQ movement. She uses circular reasoning, non sequitur, either or fallacies, and many others to try and scare Muslims. Unbelievable. Do you think Muslims are going to support the fruit salad peeps? Well, don't put it past these people, folks, to try and influence people who don't want to be influenced. And here is a response from a typical Muslim, right? He says, hey, Jen Psaki, why do you think minorities are incapable of forming their own views? Secondly, name one Muslim community, name one Muslim country, that is, that would allow their people to declare themselves a member of the LGBTQ plus community. In other words, trying to say that Republicans are anti-Muslim doesn't help your case any, right? They're not going to support anyone they don't like. Interestingly, I have a Muslim, shall we say, associate, no, not affiliate, not an associate, acquaintance. I think the word acquaintance is good. And I see him quite often, 2, 3, 4 times a week. And doesn't seem to have any problems with a big, tall, white guy. I don't seem to have any problems with him. But then again, I'm not trying to be an LGBTQ guy anyways. These people are idiots on the left, folks. Idiots. Here is another flaming example of stupid. Well, I guess maybe not flaming, though. I don't think this one is flaming. Well, I guess she could be. Joy Reid, another MSNBC superstar. She is the poster child for idiots everywhere. And she made her decision not about the LGBTQ crap, but about the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action. And she has got to be one of the dumbest people on the planet for what she said. In response to the Supreme Court saying affirmative action, right, essentially what affirmative action was, because it no longer is what it was giving preferential treatment to one race over another. It is discriminatory. It is discrimination. It is wrong. Nobody would like it if someone said, hey, white people are the ones that come first, or Latinos are the ones that come first against all other things. That's what gets you in. So, Joy Reid, apparently a Harvard graduate, admits through her incredible ignorance and stupidity. She says this, it's the dumbest admission and proof of low IQ. She said, let me be perfectly clear. I only got to Harvard because of affirmative action. In other words, she wasn't smart enough to qualify for that school. But what's happening, and folks, the reason this case came before the Supreme Court was there are people who are qualified to get into Harvard, and they're being kicked out, not allowed in, denied, because people like Joy Reid are being allowed in because of the color of their skin and not because they're smart enough to meet minimum qualifications. So she says, let me be perfectly clear. I only got to Harvard because of affirmative action. Now, that isn't to say that Joy Reid couldn't have gotten into another university, a state university, or a college university at the community level. You know, she could do things. She could probably think her way and do an AA degree on underwater basket weaving, but who knows? But these are the people of the left, folks. Affirmative action lovers, LGBTQ right? Christian haters. And I want you guys to keep boycotting for decency. For decency. We have a lot going on, folks. Get your questions down below. I'm going to do my 30-minute monologue here on this Monday and then turn the show over to you. Now, we need to keep boycotting. That's right. We need to keep boycotting for decency. Now, in every war, folks, in every battle, and in everything that happens, right, there are casualties of war. Right now, folks, Bud Light is destroying themselves. And in the meantime, there is a glass bottle maker who makes bottles for Budweiser, Bud Light, and they're being forced to shut down their plants. That's right. 600 people are going to lose their jobs because Bud Light wanted to go woke. And going woke is now hurting straight people. So as far as I'm concerned, this company was boycotting with a woke company. That makes them a woke company, sadly. So our job, folks, is to continue to keep boycotting for decency. Decency. I mean, we're not asking for everyone to be moral and saintly. Good golly, no. We can't expect that. But shouldn't we be decent people? I really think we should. We should be decent. We should help one another. But we shouldn't encourage stupidity. We shouldn't reward mental illness. It's just so easy. But this is what happens because Budweiser wanted to insult us, promote mental illness, and basically shit all over America. They're now causing more and more people to lose their jobs. Now, I want to talk about people who should lose their jobs. Well, this one already has. Outgoing Centers for Disease Control Director Rochelle Walensky. She decided to speak to America. She had a farewell message. A farewell message that she delivered. And here it is, quote, "Be on guard against misinformation and the politicization of science." Isn't that amazing? Now a warning that is a credible warning, that is good. It's good advice. But Fauci, isn't he the authority to be wary of? Right? How can you be on guard against misinformation unless you know the facts and the truth? Right? The only people who politicize this are the politicians. The rest of us are looking at the science. We've looked at the misinformation that comes from people who stand to benefit. Right? That's a big deal when it comes to actual thinking is key bono. The question to ask is who benefits? So if Pfizer or Moderna or AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson or any other pharmaceutical company says, this is really good, you should take it, they stand to benefit from you believing them. If the government says you really need to take this, how does it benefit the government? Who does it benefit when the government says that? Should we believe the government when they say that? How can we trust the government when they say that? How can we check the government's facts to see if it's accurate? Or the pharmaceutical company? So we should be on our guard against their misinformation as much as any others. Well, thank you, Rochelle Walensky, for finally saying something that makes sense. And I'm not going to guard against misinformation coming from the general public. I don't trust them either. I guard against misinformation from everybody, and I recommend you as well, right? Look out, folks. These people are politicizing everything from the law to, well, everything. Law enforcement, our schools, education, military, money, everything. But the people on the left, folks, cannot hide their idiocy. They can't. I mean, get this. Scientists, folks, these climatologist knuckleheads, scientists are now saying that humans are causing the world to wobble on its axis. So somehow scientists have detected a wobble. I mean, I've seen weeble wobbles and they don't fall down. I know what a wobble looks like. So I want to ask the question, really? Humans are causing that? Because they're pumping water out of the ground and using it to irrigate crops. Humans are causing the world to wobble on its axis. So they've detected a wobble, huh? Really? How did they do that? And this wobble is new? It hasn't been there all along? Really? The Earth doesn't wobble and then not wobble? I mean, we know it tilts on its axis at different degrees across different ages. But this wobble is caused by humans because of water being pumped out of the ground. Really? Folks, have you ever been on the ocean? Have you ever seen how vast and huge it is and how deep it is, how big the land masses are? And they want to talk about a couple of billion gallons of water being pushed from one place to another, and that's going to be enough to cause the wobble. Never mind. Let's see. Let's go with this. Mount Everest, 25,000 feet high, right? Or is it 29,000? What's the difference? But it's sticking out of the planet. Don't you think that the centripetal force from Mount Everest and the entire Himalayan landmass over there, don't you think that that would cause a significant, massive, nasty wobble all by itself? Huge, huge, folks. The Himalayas is like the Rockies times 10. Huge mountains that go on forever, extending high into the air. That kind of throws the balance of the planet off, doesn't it? But hey, humans pumping a little bit of water, look out. It's funny how this new causation theory mirrors all the other earth science bullshit blaming humans for everything conclusions. They just find a problem and then somehow miraculously they'll find the cause of the problem and blame us for it. Humans caused all the ice ages, right? Going back, well, 30,000 years, 300,000 years, 3 million years into the past. It's all humans, right? Somehow humans caused the dinosaurs to go extinct, right? Why not? Right? They say humans have only been around for 50,000 years, but hey, their conclusions and reasoning over the wobble make about as much sense as everything else these idiot scientists say. This is who we're fighting against, folks. In science, in education, in law, in media, all of them, folks, lunatics. Lunatics. Oh, did I mention bureaucrats? Right? People who have had to face this travel nightmare of flights being canceled. Flights being canceled. They're stranded. They're stuck. Well, the CEO of one airline, what a fucking douche this guy is, decided to leave the airport in a private jet while everyone else was stranded. And then he comes out and apologizes for it. Like, yeah, that was kind of insensitive of me. Oh, fuck you. Right? People are pissed off. And they have now turned their rage towards Pete Buttigieg, because the transportation secretary for the United States government, and folks, commercial air flight falls under Federal Aviation Administration jurisdiction because the federal government claims they own the air above us and therefore they have a right to regulate it. So they do. So if anybody is responsible for the snafu in airlines, it would be Pete Buttigieg. So Butt Pete should do something about this, right? Figure it out, Pete. No, he's too busy fighting the gay fight against the Supreme Court of the United States. He doesn't care about the people, his job, or anything else. All he cares about is protecting his little gay community, because he doesn't like the fact that they, right, don't have to work for them. Oh, see, they hate that. They want to tell other people what to do. They want to wave money around in their face and say, do what we say. Well, they lost that fight in the Supreme Court. Pete is too busy. He's busy with that. But, that's Pete. He's all about the but instead of doing his job. That's the idiots we have, folks. That's what's important to them. But in France, I think something may have changed. That's right, folks. Patriots in France are waking up. They're going to do something. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. 6 days, folks, in France of riots. Over 700 policemen have been injured. And patriots, folks, well, they've taken to the streets in certain places in France. Not the whole country, but they're wanting and they're chanting blue, white, red. France belongs to the French. That doesn't quite roll off the tongue in English. Doesn't quite rhyme in English, but to the French, it seems to make sense. They are standing up, folks. Now, the French did deploy 45,000 police and troops, etc. Security, if you want to call them that. People are being killed, folks. A firefighter, a French firefighter, TV host, right? There's all kinds of problems. They've made, though, folks. Let's see, they got 45,000 security agents, and they've made 157 arrests on Sunday night, down from 719 on Saturday night, and 994 on Friday night, and 1,311 Thursday night. Why are their numbers going down while the murders, the raging infernos continue? Right now, the Ministry of the Interior in France says 5,000 vehicles have been burned, 1,000 buildings damaged, 250 police stations have been attacked, and they've only arrested 3,200 of these lunatics across the country, folks. They have a big problem there. They have a big problem there. What do you think is going to happen? Well, patriots are coming out, French patriots, and they've had it, right? They want their country protected. They want the government to do their job. What do you think is going to happen? Right? These patriots are detaining looters and handing them over to the police. That's happening in Lorient. That's right. Another group of French nationalists. That's right, nationalists, folks. Doesn't make them Nazis. It means they love France, just like American nationalists love America. Well, in another area, French nationalists are defending people, defending businesses from these rioters. And it kind of cracks me up. They're wearing the Guy Fawkes masks. Why? Because they're afraid of being arrested for being patriotic and helping out, helping protect the country. Doesn't that sound like America, though? In Lyon, more French patriots are patrolling, and the police are shooting them with tear gas. Does that make any sense to you? Doesn't it sound like the French want these crazed, lunatic Muslim rioters to continue burning and assaulting and looting and murdering? Right? But patriots have had enough of this shit. Good, I'm glad. This fight needs to happen, folks, not between Muslims and others, but between government and patriots. France is having trouble. France is not a third world shithole, folks. It isn't. So why is it falling apart? Why is it falling apart? It just is. Now, speaking up here in America for our rights, who is on our side? Well, people who are brave, people who are strong, people like you who are willing to speak up, who prep to action. They're preppers first, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. But they also want to take action. Action to help others, help themselves, help this country. Well, we need people like you. You're also going to text, write, and call your representatives. You're going to give people this internet address right up here and say, watch these videos, wake up, do something, get active. Right? Well, you do have great examples of people who are willing to stand up in front of the camera because they can get FaceTime. Now, in France, they had Marine Le Pen come out and say, enough of this shit. Well, in America, we have a UFC fighter, and his name is Sean Strickland. And he came out, folks, unfiltered, right? Fisticuffs, because he's a fighter. He comes out and speaks his mind because he's not afraid. Isn't it interesting, folks, that fighters, especially these UFC type fighters, they're coming out now and just telling it like it is. They're not afraid. You see, folks, fear paralyzes. Fear silences. But if you are not afraid, you'll speak up. I would say a whole lot more, but YouTube doesn't let me. Social media wants to stop me. Well, Sean Strickland came out and he commented on the Supreme Court rulings. He commented about corporate America, that would be woke corporate, and also Jim Jones juice mandates. And he said this, congratulations, anti-Jim Jones juicer. He says, Jim Jones juice is bad. Isn't that great that he could come out and say that? Now, I can't say that because, you know, I'm not an expert. I guess I'm also not a fighter. I've watched Sean Strickland fight before, right? A lot of these guys, you know, they're not rocket scientists. Right? But this guy, he's not afraid to fight. Sometimes, I guess, however, we just need to be a little more brave than smart. I mean, the smart teaches you, tells you where to go. But you need the brave part as well to start taking action. Right? I wish there were more of people like this guy. He says, America is fucking equal opportunity. If you could fucking do it, man, bottom line. I'm really happy for the Asian community, man. If you guys work your ass off, you got good parents, and that's to go full circle. You see that Asian community of like, you have a mom in the house raising their kids. That is what America was. So he kind of threw a kudos out to the American community, the Asian American community. And that's who fought for the right to not be discriminated against. Right? The discrimination laws were written for black people. No, they were written for everybody. But they're now being used against the Asian community, and they're fighting back. They used court. Right? We have a lot to fight for, folks. It is not a small matter. It is not a small matter that we're fighting over. Speak up, folks. These fighters are not the only ones with a voice. We are as well. Right? We are as well. Now, some voices, folks, should just shut the fuck up. As I started with this show, I want to finish my 30-minute monologue by, again, right? Let's get it on, right? People should be fighting back, and we should be fighting these morons. And one of the biggest morons of all is AOC. That's right, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Right? The woman who can eat an apple through a picket fence. Right? Old Teethy herself. She says the conservative, folks, the conservative Supreme Court justices, that's 6 out of the 9. She says they need a, quote, check on their power, end quote. Or else we're going to start seeing a dangerous, authoritarian expansion of power. This comes from the moron who wants mandatory Jim Jones juice. I bet if she had her way, she would make all the straight men wear and mandatorily be ordered to wear butt plugs as well, just so they can feel what it's like to be one of these LGBTQers, right? These people are the epitome of dangerous authoritarians who are seeking to expand their power. It is the conservatives who want to restore the power of us, the people, not increase the power of the government. It is authoritarian Democrat bureaucracy that is coming after us, from the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office and the FBI to the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms that wants to rewrite their level of authority so they can come after us as well. It is that bad, folks. They are going to continue to push at us. And idiots like AOC or TikTokers or mainstream media mouthpieces and bureaucrats, elected officials, courtroom desk jockeys, they're all going to come after us. They're all going to seek, right, more power and destroy ours. So let's do this. Let's take a look at what you guys want to talk about. It is now time for the Inner Circle. Well, you might think, hey, it's the weekend and we have a Monday between the weekend and the 4th of July. It's going to be a slow news day. Well, surprise, it is not. There is an awful lot to talk about. Let's start with you guys, though. It is now time for the Inner Circle. What do you want to talk about? Jolene, who wants to step up first? And it is Matt, and he's coming at us through thepreparedmind.club. And oh, yes, if you're a member of the preparedmind.club, go to that. This is the website address, thepreparedmind.club, C-L-U-B. You can sign up $2 a month, $2 a month, 7 cents a day. And you can join us Monday through Friday and do live one-on-one chat right here. And Matt is doing it. He says, glad to be here. Looking forward to new information to share. Oh, well, I've handed you quite a bit, and there's a whole lot more. New information, right? And it's continuing to be big information, big news that the U.S. Army is celebrating their transitioning major, Rachel Jones. Rachel Jones looks like a man with thinning hair and a comb over. But, you know, we're not going to make fun of people and hair shame them or fat shame them or ugly shame them or stupid shame them. We're not even allowed to LGBTQ shame them. But I will shame the military for promoting this and for allowing it. It makes no sense. But what I can tell you it does do is it encourages our enemies to continue to treat America as if it's weak and ineffective. And actually, folks, America is weak and ineffective. Now, how is it that they continue to get power, these left-wing idiots? Well, we've got a news story. And get this, Gavin Newsom, who happens to be the governor of California, he is in Boise, Idaho. That's right, he's over in the state of Idaho. And he is meeting with Democrats there because they want to turn Idaho into a Democrat California-style state. Isn't that interesting, folks? This is how they do it. I'm sure he is over there not telling them to cheat, not telling them to lie, not telling them to steal, but he's telling them how to organize and build groups that influence and intimidate. I'm sure that those groups that influence and intimidate have people of such low moral character that they're going to have no problem figuring out that they do need to cheat. They'll figure it out all on their own. They're not surprised or scared by it. That's who these people are. That's what they do. All right, get your questions down below. You're part of the Inner Circle. Let's do some more. Jolene, who is next? And we have Ungrateful Peasant. Hey, Ungrateful. He says, what was going on socially in the Weimar Republic that made rational people support the Socialist Party in Germany? What books were they actually burning? Read up on that and you will have a lot of answers for today. Let's go back to his original question. Let's go back to Ungrateful Peasant's original question. What was going on socially in the Weimar Republic, that is Germany, prior to the Nazis taking control? So now we're in the 1920s. The 1920s. The Germans were being attacked for what had happened in World War I. They were being blamed for World War I. So since Germany lost, the Kaiser, that is the King of Germany, lost the war, they were blamed for it. And they were told that they were going to pay for the war, that is, to pay reparations directly, instantly back to everyone in Europe for the cost of the war. And so they were given an incredible bill to pay. It'd be like you trying to buy a house, but being told you have a 5-year mortgage. So you're going to have to pay an incredible, intense amount of money every year. Well, the Germans actually managed to pay it back. But it crushed the country. In fact, it crushed the country so bad that they ended up with hyperinflation. They printed so many Deutschmarks, if they were Deutschmarks, German notes, banknotes. Their economy just got destroyed. So they started blaming people, right? Who do they blame? They couldn't blame the Kaiser, right? They blamed other countries for doing that to them, and they blamed the Jews. They blamed the unproductive people, the people who didn't support a strong Germany. Anyone who wasn't a German nationalist was blamed. Now, at the same time, socially, right, this desire for Germany to come out of this problem, to fight their way out of it, they did it through production. They did it through production. Industrial production created massive amounts of industry and wealth. They were able to pay off their debts and pull themselves out of this quagmire of shit that was created for them by other countries. Now, they didn't do it all on their own. They didn't do it all on their own. It wasn't until Adolf Hitler. That's right. The Nazi power grew and grew because they were National Socialists. That's right. They were socialists. The Nazi Party are socialists, just like we have socialists in America, like Biden and AOC and Hillary and all the other socialists and the Democrat and the Rhino Republicans are socialist folks. The Socialist Party, right, grew in power and influence, and Germany did better because they were being funded by American and British socialists within the banking system. And that is what happened socially to allow the Weimar Republic to grow into the Germany that became the Nazi death machine, right? They took their hatred and anger for Jews and other groups, as well as other countries and communism, and they were funded. That's really not a social question, but more of a financial question. They were funded by socialists elsewhere. That's what happened in Germany, folks. But when the people who did not like the idea that they're going to blame, right, people and surrender their rights to the Nazi Party, they wanted to fight back. They believed that Hitler was bad. But there were so many of these evil bastards out there, folks, that they were outnumbered. They were outvoted. And once the good people of Germany were outvoted by the fools that fell for Hitler Nazi lies, Hitler's Germany became extremely violent. Extremely violent. It became a police state. It became very dangerous to speak out against the government, against the media, against any part of the country that was sponsored by or supported by the Nazi Party. That's what happened. That made rational people support an irrational system. I wouldn't say that the people who supported Hitler were rational. I think they were propagandized. They were fooled, they were lied to. And maybe they were fools to begin with, but they really were fooled all the way. So what do we have here in America? Do we have fools on the left, or do we have rational, sane people on the left? Right? The same rational, sane people that say you should discriminate against one group but not another. The same rational group that says we should allow children to make decisions about cutting off their genitals after their teachers in school give them the idea that it's good. Is that rational? Is it rational to leave our border open to be invaded by morons from other countries who are coming here to, right, parasitically live off of us? Is that rational? Is it rational to choose a political system through which the government can operate that has already demonstrated that it murders its own people in the tune of millions and millions? That is socialism. Murdered over 100 million people between, well, 1900 and 2000. In 100 years, they murdered over 100 million people. The governments do. That's right. Socialists, not such a good thing. Thank you, ungrateful peasant, for bringing that topic up. People need to wake up and they need to take action. The German people ended up laying down and not standing up for themselves, and the Nazi Party took control, and then the people cowered. They cowered in fear from Hitler and the Nazis. We need to speak up and not be fearful of these people. All right, let us move on if we shall. Jolene says, name redacted is up next. And it says, fear causes hesitation. Hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. A bit of philosophical wisdom. He says, speak now or be silenced forever. Right? A right unused is a useless right. A power or authority that is vested in the people needs to be used. Now, in this case, speaking up is not a right given to us by government. It is a right granted by the Almighty. The right of one human to speak up and speak out should not be prohibited by a government that wants to silence us so only its words can be heard, so only its thoughts can be considered. The purpose of free speech, folks, is not to allow the loudest amongst us to scream and yell and force others to listen. It's to allow us to listen to anyone we want and think however we want and come to whatever conclusion we want. But to come to a conclusion that is illegal or unlawful, right? You can come to that conclusion, but to act on it, that's where people get in trouble. But who wants to act on their conclusions these days? We are told that the radical right, the religious right, the far right are the dangerous ones, but we keep seeing those who come to radical, dangerous conclusions are on the left. And they're the ones that also act on those dangerous, radical, violent conclusions. Now, I can come to some conclusions, but you don't see me acting out violently. You don't see me going to schools or businesses or government buildings and shooting people. No, because that's wrong. The left, however, doesn't see it that way. They are like all the other radical socialist movements out there. They're acting right now as individuals, but I'm going to give you one warning. Right now, when you see them, the radical leftists, not acting as radical, violent, murderous individuals, but radical, violent, murderous groups like we saw in 2020, then you know it's time to cock and lock. It's time to lock and load. It's time to make sure you're prepared to step up and step in the hole and protect those you love. That time is going to come again. We're seeing evidence of that, the way we saw evidence in France with the yellow vest protests. And then we saw America end up with the St. George Floyd protests. But what did they do, folks? They protested, yes, against the police, yes, against the courts. They protested, yes, against businesses, against restaurants, yes, against neighborhoods of innocent civilians. Yes, they protested against the suburbs. They protested against entire towns, and they protested against Kyle Rittenhouse. Remember that guy? And he went to try and help people, but he was armed. They discovered that he wasn't one of them, so they chased him down trying to kill him. He had to use his AR-15 to defend himself lawfully. He was found not guilty of doing such a thing. These leftists are everywhere, folks. They're the ones that become violent. Understand that, and you and I will live a lot longer in this game. Okie dokie, another great topic. Thank you guys. You guys do a great job of bringing it to the table. Your thoughts, your ideas, your predictions, your observations, your humor also. All right, Jolene, let's go with it. We got someone else wants to step up, and it is Jane Dixon. Thank you for the great support there, Jane. And she says this, the Biden digital currency, that would be the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. I think she's calling it the central Biden digital currency. Says it was not voted on. He acted with Executive Order 1407. Don't let it take over. The plan has 32 pages and 9 times the word control is used. It is mentioned. The CBDC, the central Biden digital currency, is about control. It's about controlling the monetary flow. It's about controlling what you buy and what you don't buy. It's about controlling your movement, where you go. We're told that, yeah, social credit score and central bank digital currencies are synonymously used. They're going to be put together. That controls who you talk to, who you listen to, where you go, what you do. It controls how far you can travel, whether or not you can travel at all, what stores you can buy things in or not. Folks, a lot of states are against these CBDCs already, and they want to outlaw them. It is not legitimate currency. It is not legitimate currency. The CBDC is not a constitutional form of money. It's not a constitutional form of money. But they're going to push it on us. They're going to force it on us. They're going to lie, cheat, and steal to get it in your face. You bet they will. That's what they do, folks. They lie, they cheat, they steal. I tell you. Oh, this is interesting. I can't help it on this one. Jim Caviezel. He starred in the movie The Count of Monte Cristo. And while playing in The Count of Monte Cristo, Jim says that Disney told him that as Edmond Dantes in the Alexander Dumas novel, they wanted to, this is his quote, Jim's quote, they wanted me to remove God from all the script. True story. He says, what happened to God? God will give me justice, he said. That's a quote from the book, right? And he told Disney, no, I can't do this. I won't remove it. Interesting, folks, that Disney said, oh, so you're one of those? Literal quote. This is what Jim is quoting them as saying. He says, one of those what? And one of those who want to rewrite Alexander Dumas, one of those who rewrite Shakespeare, because that's essentially what you did. He said he held his ground, folks, and by God, they backed off. Jim Caviezel said he held his ground, and by God, they, meaning Disney, backed off. There's a great life lesson in that about standing your ground, about telling the opposition no, about being willing to fight and to lose even. Jim Caviezel didn't lose that fight. They backed off. Right? We have to, as Americans, stand up and start fighting for ourselves and everything else and everyone else that we love and believe in. Now, let's do another one of your questions. Another one of your comments, thoughts. Jolene, who do we want to put up next? Oh, there he is. There's the man. Chin Music says, John, funny you mentioned Mayor Petey, the transportation sweetie. He asked the question, Chin Music asks, did he get the whole month off? No, I'm sure he was working it the whole time. Yeah, Petey, the transportation sweetie. Lighten the loafers, Pete Buttgagger. Really, folks, one of the most useless humans. He was a mayor. and he ran for president of the United States. Now, you would think stranger things would happen. We had, after all, President Trump. Never a politician ran as a political outsider, and we saw what happened to him. Then you have Petey the meat eater, right? Little Petey the pirate, little brown-eyed Petey, right? That guy, he got to run for president, and since he didn't win, he was given the luxurious bureaucratic leadership position of Secretary of Transportation, and he's done absolutely nothing with it. Right? These people like Pete, are mentally deranged. He wanted to introduce to the world chest feeding by men who adopt babies, and the whole thing is sick. Almost as sick as Dylan Mulvaney. Now, I seem to remember when this first came out that Joe Rogan was, well, kind of supportive. And maybe I'm wrong. Help me out here. Several people were trying to support this whole woke shit, including Trump Jr., Donald Trump Jr. But it seems like everyone figured it out real quick. America's had it with this shit. Joe Rogan has now gone on a rant and is calling Dylan Mulvaney a mentally ill attention whore. I think that's very interesting that he would do that. Right? Joe Rogan, immensely powerful, immensely popular, called him a mentally ill attention whore. He was talking with rapper Ice Cube, right? The criticism needs to continue. It really does. Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch has lost $27 billion in market now. And it's not, folks, it is not Dylan Mulvaney's fault. It is the woke agenda's fault. It is Budweiser's fault. Dylan Mulvaney has just become the face of mental illness and beer. Right? It is incredible. Budweiser is every bit. In fact, Budweiser is more at fault than Dylan Mulvaney. They gave this fruitcake a national spotlight by putting him on a can of beer. They tried making him a superhero, and he absolutely failed because we all rejected it. And we continue to reject it. And we need to continue to reject it and all corporate wokeism, folks. This is one of the great battles in this country. You see, in Germany, let's go back to the Weimar Republic, the 1920s, as Hitler and his Nazi party was growing in strength and growing in exposure and growing in political and monetary power, more and more people decided to go along and get along. What would have happened if America said, hey, we love that little fruit salad eating fruit, right? Get more cans of beer with his face on it. Let's get all of these fruitcakes on our cans of beer. You know, like I said, I would rather have military heroes on the beer cans. I would rather see our military enemies on the beer cans, so we at least see their faces and know who the hell they are. And on the back of the can, it could have a write-up of who they are. It could say something like, as a red-blooded beer-drinking American, this here is the enemy of our country. Learn their faces and learn them well so we can battle them, right, like real men, not like fruitcakes wearing silk gloves and sitting in a luxurious bubble bath and pretending to like the swill known as Bud Light. Anyways, Target, Bud, Nike, Adidas, all these companies need to go down. And maybe they will go down like Kevin Spacey. Maybe they're going to go down like they need $20 at a bus stop. That's really who these people are. Anyways, let's do this. Let's have another one. Jolene, who do we want to put up next? And we got Do Stuff with Nikki. And she says, y'all hear about the FAA just approved the first flying electric car. They showed pics That seems to me to be about as good an idea as getting into that submarine. They should call it the name. They should name it Airgate. I tell you what, I believe the first flying electric car that's been approved is also self-flying. Now that has worked out so well for Tesla and the electric automobiles. Self-driving cars that'll run over dogs, run over grandmothers. I've even heard that it's racist and it runs over black people and brown people. Probably just runs over everybody, but everyone wants to take their poke at it. So if we can't kill as many people as we need to with electric cars, maybe we ought to start doing it with flying electric cars. They need to stop and slow down and back off. If it takes, let's just say, a megawatt to shoot a car across the ground for a couple hundred miles, how much power do you think it would take to lift that same car and fly those 100 miles? It takes a lot more to lift a car off the ground than it does to roll a car across the ground. Because you don't just have to overcome inertia and deal with wind resistance. You have to overcome gravity and then inertia and then wind resistance. Anyways, the big question is, where are they going to get the batteries for these things? And where are they going to get the power to drive them? That's what we got, folks. That's where we're at. Let's keep pushing technology that nobody can afford and is unsustainable. Unbelievable. Incredible. Folks, it's coming. The stupid is coming. Let's do another question. We're down to the last few minutes. We got a couple more questions. We got name redacted. He says, a country to be respected and feared is a country of capable, moral men. We have lost that perception. Example, George Washington versus Joe Biden. You can make a lot of great examples out of this, can't you? Right? We certainly can. A country to be respected and feared is a country of capable, moral men. Right? How about Thomas Jefferson versus Bill Clinton? How about Andrew Jackson versus Al Gore? How about Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro? I snort cocaine in college, never had a real job, Obama. How about him versus John Adams, Samuel Adams, John Hancock, Paul Revere? How about that guy, Barack Obama? Is he a modern moralist? Or is he just a modern moron? When you compare him, folks, to the likes of Alexander Hamilton, Benjamin Franklin, there are so many good, decent, moral men that lived back then. Yet, our country, or at least the Democrats, want to destroy their memory. Men who developed a way to keep a government in check and to keep the people as free as possible. Yeah. I mean, let's see. Reagan was a great president. Eisenhower was a great president. Folks, JFK was a great president. I think he was elected through cheating, but he wasn't such a bad guy. He wasn't such a bad guy at all, relative to what we have today. We have someone like George W. Bush, right? And what he did with the Patriot Act and the NDAA, and that 9/11, folks, was an incredible crime against all humanity. And just like Joe Biden's Nord Stream pipeline terror attack was even more expensive and even more costly in terms of world peace. Well, we don't have world peace, folks. We have shit hitting the fan. I hope you are prepared. Chance favors. The prepared mind is yours. Godspeed. You bet. Semper Fi means always faithful. God bless America. And happy Independence Day. Never forget who we are and where we came from. Never forget, it is our right and our duty. It is our right and our duty to defeat, destroy, and eliminate tyrants.